Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the couch. Week 3. We're really doing it now. Thank you guys all for checking out the first 2 episodes and being so kind and supportive, and people that have chipped in a little bit. It's really helped a lot. Been really generous, and I really appreciate it. In addition to sort of giving me a place to kind of try to still work, this has also kind of given me a nice little routine. I shoot these on Mondays, and then I edit them and upload them on Tuesdays, and they come out Wednesday morning. And it's been nice having a little bit of a routine, you know, certainly more than I would have otherwise. We've fallen into little other routines. I'm sure you guys have too. These last, I think it's been 132 days, something like that. My wife and I, at night, have been watching a scary movie every day for almost every one of those 132 days. We did all the Friday the 13th. We did all the Halloweens. We did all like the late 90s, early 2000s, kind of The Faculty and Scream and Final Destination and all that stuff. My dog's snoring again. Do you hear that? He's old. He's 14. And now we're working our way through the Nightmare on Elm Streets. Or the Nightmares on Elm Street. The Nightmares on Elm Streets. Point is, they're bad. We're enjoying them, sure. But they are bad. Definitively and without question. If there was a question about whether or not they are bad, that question was just annihilated from my brain last night when we watched the 5th one, wherein we see Freddy Krueger as an infant, because, you know, that's what the world wanted. And at many points in this movie, it turns into kind of, remember the Take On Me video by Aha? It does that, where like one of the characters will turn into a drawing, and then Freddy will like erase him or cut him up, or it's terrible. But being reminded of Aha is always a positive in my mind. There's this weird thing happening right now where Toto is getting all this play with Africa. It's not a new song, obviously, but for some reason it's just everywhere you go. And I always wondered how the world picked that song, because for my money, I'd rather hear Take On Me. That bass line is undeniable. I think Africa might be the more challenging song. Like, from a music theory perspective, it's probably the more interesting song. But that almost never makes something better. You know? Let's drink some coffee. Think more about Aha. Today I'm drinking out of my banjo mug here. My cool guy playing a banjo. My friend John set me up with a show in Illinois. It was this really great kind of, it felt like a house show, but it wasn't in a house. It was in this like community space, and it's really beautiful, and people were really kind, and we all ate together, and they had some stuff for sale from local artists. So I got this mug. It's real good. Let's see. Some of you guys had questions last time I asked if you guys wanted to talk about anything. My friend Jenny asked if I had any like bucket list musicians that I wanted to see perform live. And I'm not sure that I do. There are certainly people still kicking around that I love, you know, Dylan and Tom Waits and those kind of people. I've just always kind of been of the mindset that I'm not sure I want to see someone near the end, especially if I didn't get to see them near the beginning, you know? Like, my memory of Tom Petty, in my mind, he's, you know, like 30. And he's, you know, just getting ready to make Full Moon Fever, you know? I like that Tom Petty. I like all the Tom Pettys. And I think his output was great right up to the end. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how you could go see someone that you love that much and not walk away a little disappointed that they didn't play such and such a song, or you know, maybe had to lower some of the keys or whatever. I certainly support people playing right to the very end if they want to, but I never got to see Petty. I'm a little sad about that. I feel very lucky. I did get to see John Prine though. That was a real big one for me. We magically ended up on the same bill. I played a festival that he headlined, and I was like way at the bottom of the poster. But that was great, and I got to watch him live from backstage, and he had it right up to the very end too. He was really great. So yeah, bucket list people, I don't know. There's a band called Me Without You that's still around. They're getting ready to break up, but I make a point to go see them whenever they come around. I love them. And like I said, I would jump at the chance to go see Dylan or Tom Waits or anybody like that, but those chances don't come around too often. And when they do, I'm afflicted with the middle-class singer-songwriter budgetary constraints, which is to say, if I'm not opening, I probably can't afford to see it. But I've been lucky to get to open for some of those people too. Like I said, we got to do a show with John Prine, and I got to open for Robert Earl Keen, and that was really cool. Opened for Rodney Crowell once. That was really neat. So yeah, there's that. My friend Scott asked me to talk a little bit about the number of people that seem to transition from punk to folk, and what some of my favorites are. I think that's a really interesting conversation because it does happen a lot. And I think part of it is just that folk music and punk music are the two genres that seem farthest apart but are really closest together. I think it's usually just a question of volume and speed. And sometimes not even speed, you know. You listen to a bluegrass song and you try putting drums on that, it would have to be a blast beat, you know. But there are certainly a ton of great guys out there doing it, from Tim Berry to Chuck Reagan and Dave Haas, and, you know, Brian Fallon's a big one. And I think the thing they all have in common, though, is that you don't really, the people that do it really well, they don't just go randomly from punk music to folk music or acoustic music or whatever. I think they grow up with folk music and acoustic music, then they find punk rock music, and then they sort of re-embrace, as you do, the stuff from your youth with the bluegrass and the folk and that kind of thing. And what makes it exciting, hopefully, is that you keep the ethics and even some of the aesthetics of punk rock. I don't think real punk rock ever washes off. So it just because you transition to folk music, to me, doesn't mean you're not still playing punk music too. You know, I think as long as it's sincere and it's good and it's true and immediate, it's good enough for me. My bigger influences, I think, are older than that. You know, obviously like Townes Van Zandt and again, you know, Bob Dylan and Ramblin' Jack Elliott and all those kind of people. But I think that's a common thread. I think when you're young, you move away from the quieter stuff and get into the really loud stuff. And then as you get older, you realize that they're just not that different. And then of course, you know, the world has changed so much. There's budgetary constraints. Like it's hard to keep a band on the road. I was going to say it's hard to keep a road on a band. That's probably hard too, though. It's hard to keep a band on the road, and it's hard to keep a band together, all moving in the same direction. Whereas with what I do, I can grab a guitar and I can get in a car and not a van, and I can go play anywhere. I don't even need electricity to play a show for people. So there's that. I like it. And I still love punk rock. I still love, you know, all the stuff that I loved as a kid. You know, The Clash is probably always going to be my favorite band, and the Buzzcocks are huge. And I was just watching a big long interview with John Lydon from the Sex Pistols, who's a little cranky for me sometimes, but I get it. That's how it is. So yeah, there's tons of, basically anybody who's ever done the Revival tour is doing a really great job of transitioning from punk to folk. Some people you might be less aware of. There's a guy named Roger Harvey out of Philadelphia. He's playing country music now, and he's really, really good. He started out in the punk rock scene. And then there's a great like punk rock hardcore band called Defeater, and their singer has a side project called Alcoa, A-L-C-O-A, and they play kind of alt country twangy stuff, and it's really great. I should play you a song now. That's what I do. I'm fighting off a bit of a cold, so bear with me. But this is one that was on my last EP. It's called New Heaven, and it's about the possibility that the love I have for my wife and son might be strong enough to create its own afterlife. Which sounds kind of bold, I know, but where do we get without being a little bold? This is another one that, you know, I sometimes I think it's hard to call a song a happy song or a sad song, but this one skews more positive, and for some reason, everything that I've written the last 132 days has skewed positive. And some people have taken issue with that. I've seen some complaints about people writing songs about quarantine or whatever, and I don't have a lot of patience for that. Just being honest. I wrote the first 150 without that guy's input. I don't need it now. Sorry. It seems like an unrealistic demand to put on an artist that, like, when I met my wife, I started writing songs about her, and when we had our son, I started writing songs about him, and when I travel to play shows, I write songs about traveling, and when there's a pandemic and I'm quarantined in the house with my wife and son, I'm going to write songs about that. And I love my wife and son, so it's hard not to, you know, like Leonard Cohen said, there's a crack in everything. It's how the light gets in. And I just think it's disingenuous sometimes to write songs that are all one thing, be it happy or sad. You know, this song is, I think it's a happy song, but it's about dying and about sort of dealing with the fact that you leave people behind. Maybe, I don't know. So we'll play that. And, you know, I've never felt like I had a ton of control over what comes out. I just feel thankful when they come. And sometimes they're happy when I feel sad. And sometimes they're sad when I feel happy. And I'm just glad to have them. So this is called New Heaven. And my friend Caleb, who mastered the EP for me really well, he said this was his new favorite Christopher Gold happy sad song. Or sad hopeful song. I forget. But sad hopeful is kind of my sweet spot. So here's New Heaven from the couch with a cold. You said life takes forever. I said that's a long time. But I would only ask for more after spending mine with you. We could stay a little longer down here in this hole, just wishing that it was deeper and that we didn't have to go. But I know it drags on sometimes. But I bet that when it's gone, it don't feel all that long. If there's a heaven, well, I will meet you there. It won't even matter if they let us in. Well, those gates could be locked, and I won't even care. I'll just build us a new heaven for the rest of us to share. But I know it's unsure sometimes. But I know what I'll miss, and I'm certain I know why. But I know it drags on sometimes. But I'd bet that when it's gone, it don't feel all that long. Stop me before I waste this breath. Stop me before I throw one more word away. saying something true about second chances, and that trouble ain't always. But I know it's unsure sometimes, but I know what I miss, and I'm certain I know why. And I know it drags on sometimes, but I bet that when it's gone, it don't feel all that long. All right, there's New Heaven off the EP Midnight Crow, available now on Spotify and YouTube and everywhere else. I played it for you today on a 1975 Alvarez Yari that I adore. Look how pretty this gold is here. I got this as a birthday gift from my friend Lori. It had been sitting in her closet for a long time, and she passed it on to me, and I've gotten a whole bunch of songs out of it. So I'm very happy about that. I love guitars, and it always means a lot to me when someone sends one my way. So let's do a music recommendation. We talked about Aha and Toto, so let's keep it in the 80s. There's a ton of really good stuff in the 80s that, as a wayward punk rock youth, I tried to talk myself out of because it didn't seem cool or whatever. But, you know, you want to think that you're better than Hungry Like the Wolf, but you're not. That song rips. I love that song, that whole record. And many of the things that Duran Duran did, Tears for Fears, and even like Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, and all these bands that you sort of thought were of a different time and thereby not for you. But let's talk about some stuff that maybe you might not know, because there's more in the 80s than Joy Division. I love Joy Division, even though a lot of people seem to think they're a t-shirt company. Recommendation number 1, hot from the 80s. This band is called The Sound. This record is called Jeopardy. Listen to Heartland off this record. They are from a similar school of thought, I think, as Joy Division. They have that kind of lonely keyboard sound that I like a lot, and the jangly guitars, and it's kind of sparse. But to my ear, it's a little more melodic than Joy Division, and maybe even a little more energetic or driving, I guess. So listen to The Sound. They're great, or they were great. And then listen to The Alarm. This is another band from the 80s, as you can tell from these bitchin' haircuts. But this band is a little less post-punk, though there's a little bit of that in there, and a little more like jangly and, dare I say, folky, but with a powerful 80s vibe. Like all the good stuff from the 80s is in there, but you also get harmonicas and 12-string guitars, and to my ear there's room to make a bit of a Clash comparison, though I have been disagreed with about that. So listen to The Alarm and get in the comments and tell me if you think they sound even a little bit like the Clash, because I need to be vindicated on that. That's it. As for reading and writing, I'm spending the week, or reading and watching, I'm spending the week getting caught up on The Umbrella Academy, which is a great series of comics and a great new show on Netflix. And season 2 comes out on Friday, and us Golds are plenty excited about that. I hope you guys are finding stuff to be excited about. That's important. And I hope you are enjoying this still. I really like doing this. I didn't think that I would, and maybe someday I won't anymore. But for now, this is the third one, and it's the third time it's felt really good. So thank you guys for your support. Thank you especially to anybody who's hit me up on PayPal or Venmo. PayPal is Christopher@ChristopherGold.com. Venmo is @ChristopherGoldMusic. Or, buy yourself a record by The Alarm and get in the comments and tell me they sound like the Clash. That's as good as money to me. In the meantime, be good. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. And if this is the only place you're hearing it, it's going to be okay. It's tough, for sure. It might get tougher, but it's going to be okay. And soon, we will be together again, and I will be playing you many, many songs, and talking even more than this, if you can believe it, and probably saying inappropriate things, because that's just what the stage does to me. Between now and then, I'll be missing you. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye.